I'm so...
This is my audience. They are for real. Okay.
Hi.
Do you ever wonder why Bob Barker talks about spaying and neutering his animals so much and why you should do it? Well, I'm going to tell you some reasons why, and maybe change your opinion about dogs getting spayed and neutered. Some of the main reasons why you want to spay and neuter your animal is just because it's healthier that way. They're at a much less risk for uterine cancer, testicular cancer, prostate cancer. They don't get mammary tumors. When your dog has puppies, it's really hard on their bodies. It deteriorates their bones a lot of the time. They can get osteoporosis and bone problems. So just if you want to have your pet for a longer period of time, I would suggest spaying and neutering them. And I'm not saying that people who have their animals intact don't care about them, because I'm sure that they do. It's just, you know, breeding is really hard on your animal. And you know what happens if you decide, oh, I don't want to spay and neuter my animal, and then it gets lost and it comes back and now you have puppies. What are you going to do with those puppies? Are you going to take them to the shelter? Or are you going to sell them on Craigslist? You know, what's going to happen? You have to think about the greater good of your animals and their prospective puppies, you know? And if you're a breeder, I mean, you know, don't be a backyard breeder. Don't just be like, okay, well, I want my dog to have puppies, you know, especially if they're a larger breed. You don't know the history of the male that you're breeding your dog with. You don't know if they have hip dysplasia or congenital problems. You know, all your puppies could come out with congenital birth defects, and then you're going to have a huge vet bill, you know, and nobody wants that. So, what's the time on that?
2 minutes.
Okay. So, yeah, you don't want that. And, you know, it says in our nursing book that animals are just healthier when they're spayed and neutered, and there's less complications with their bodies. I know that a lot of people feel like if you spay or neuter your animal, you know, they're not going to be as happy, or they're gonna have, you know, problems later because it's not the natural thing to do. It's not the natural way that they feel. But honestly, if you get it done earlier in their life, you know, they don't have those hormones, and also they don't have those marking behaviors, because a lot of those are learned. So even if you think now, oh, I want to neuter my dog and he's 5, he's still gonna have marking behavior, you know. And it's just, you know, I would recommend spaying and neutering all your animals. You know, I mean, not just your dogs and your cats, because, you know, cats can spray and that's not good. And cats, when they go into heat, they have estrus all the time until they're bred. So your cat could be in heat for pretty much ever, you know, and that's a lot of the reason why people get their cats spayed and neutered. It's just because of the spraying and their prolonged estrus time. And ferrets, I mean, that's why when you go to the pet store, all your ferrets are spayed and neutered, because if you don't spay your ferret, they can have prolonged estrus issues, which leads to prolonged bleeding, and then your ferret's, you know, not doing too hot. So it's really important just for medical reasons to do that. And, you know, I do recognize that on the other side of the fence, you know, a lot of the people are like, oh, well, what about the breeders? What about people who do, you know, are AKC registered and who do really take care of their animals and want to do that? And I'm saying that that's fine, but just for, you know, the regular person out there who, you know, wants to have a dog or a cat, I think it's a really good idea to get them spayed or neutered, just because, you know, you don't want another dog running around out in your yard, you know, breeding your animal, and that happens a lot. People just don't realize. I also recognize that, you know, there are puppy mills out there, and that's a really big issue that it's a heated issue that people like to talk about when they're talking about spaying and neutering their animals is puppy mills and how it creates so many unwanted puppies and so many puppies that have to go to pet shops and that get markupped like crazy. And I also recommend getting your animals from the shelter. Don't buy from pet shops, because a lot of those dogs are puppy mill dogs, and they're going to have emotional problems. I mean, being torn away from your mom is a scary thing, and I understand why that's a concern, and a lot of people feel that they should spay and neuter just over the fact that there's puppy mills out there. So I agree with Bob Barker, spay and neuter your animals. If you want to take them to the vet, and if you want to do checkups on them and get them ultrasounded and make sure they're okay and healthy, then by all means that's okay if you want to do that. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people are irresponsible with not spaying and neutering their animals. So thank you for listening to me, and you guys are awesome.